Hey guys, welcome back. Mr. Wilson here, and today I want to talk a little bit about the upcoming Star Wars show Ahsoka, but more in depth on the current state of these Star Wars shows in Disney and how it's not been real awesome.
There is a great disturbance in the Force.
So Ahsoka is coming out pretty soon here on the 23rd of August, and I really feel like I should be more excited about the show than I actually am. For me, and I would assume a great many others, Disney has essentially taken my trust in them to make a quality show and taken that trust and just set it on fire. Essentially, we need a new hope, people. Again. I mean, what was the last Star Wars show that you really enjoyed? I was so excited for the Obi-Wan show, and then just was completely underwhelmed by the time that thing was over. There was so much filler in that show that they could have cut out probably half of it and had maybe a decent movie there. And I think I read that there was someone who actually did re-edit that show into more of like a movie format, and frankly, I'd really like to see that if it's possible, but that's probably not an option. Anyway, uh, big gripe with that show was the young Leia character. Whatever it was they were trying to sell with her, I was not buying it. I mean, her interactions with Obi-Wan were kind of hit and miss throughout the entirety of the show. But those couple of chase scenes in the show were like the one at the very beginning of the show and then the one in the city. You know, you got these uh, adults chasing around this little girl. And I mean, just the way it was portrayed on the screen was so bad. And I mean, I was laughing at it, at how terrible it was portrayed. The Inquisitors had a big part in the Obi-Wan show also, and unfortunately, like their inclusion wasn't handled the best. I feel it was handled way better in the animated show Rebels, and especially in the Star Wars video game Jedi Fallen Order. Especially Fallen Order. It handled the Inquisitors really well and had a pretty sweet story to go along with it. In the big climactic battle with Obi-Wan and Vader, we see a scene there where Vader's mask gets like blown in half. Now, that I don't know if people were looking forward to seeing that because it had already been done in the animated show Rebels, which again, in my opinion, I thought it was done better in the animated show than it actually ended up in the live action show. And it's really disappointing that video games and these animated shows are telling way more engaging and better stories than Disney's able to produce with these live action shows. You know, with that being said, most of the highlights of the show for me were almost all exclusively involving Darth Vader. In particular, his fight with the third sister near the back end of the show. That was a pretty awesome display from Vader and something that I was looking forward to seeing in the show. And I thought that was one of the few scenes where I was like, yes, they're finally getting that guy right. But unfortunately, that's really where my positive critiques of the show end. You know, and then we had Boba Fett. What the hell did Disney do with the most famous, or rather most infamous bounty hunter in the galaxy? They did him dirty. They did him dirty, Jerry. Dirty. How do you have a show about Boba Fett and then the best parts of the show were involving a completely different character? I thought the best parts of the show were about the Mandalorian and the dark saber. That's not a good thing. It was as if when they were making this, they ran out of stuff to say, or maybe they just decided, ah, we don't really know how to fill the gaps here, so let's just add the Mandalorian in here for some padding. And the story they did tell about Boba Fett did not work for me at all. They decided to make Boba like more honorable. Like he gets taken by the Sand People and gets some new perspective on things from the Sand People. Fuck the Sand People. Boba Fett just needs to be ruthless, intimidating, and just being a badass. That's all you got to do with him. That's why we like him in the first place. He doesn't need this complex, moral compass so that we can all relate to him. It doesn't work. You just gotta let Boba be Boba. The first season of The Mandalorian did give me a little bit of hope for Star Wars shows in their future, but that ended up being pretty short lived. In my opinion, The Mandalorian shows have gotten progressively worse every season since the first one. And kind of like Boba Fett, I actually also felt like the pinnacle of the whole series involved another previously established character, Luke Skywalker. Now, that being said, I did enjoy that scene with Luke Skywalker, getting to see him, kind of in his prime and going in there and saving all their asses. That was cool to see. It's just unfortunate that it had to come at the expense of a different character's dedicated show. And I really felt like that scene with Luke Skywalker kind of mirrored Darth Vader's scene at the end of Rogue One, where we're seeing kind of both these characters at the height of their powers. And in my opinion, really, those are two of the best things that Disney has put out since they took over. Anyway, on to the third season of Mando. It really lost me. I mean, probably not even halfway through. Looking back on the whole thing now, I felt like there was maybe only like 3 or 4 episodes that actually kind of pushed the plot forward. And the rest of it, I don't know, like there was a few episodes in there where when it was over, I looked at my girlfriend and literally said, what the hell was the point of that episode? You can't have that. I mean, you just can't have episodes in a show that do nothing. I mean, I understand there's got to be some fluff here and there, but I mean, it was just so egregious in the third season of The Mandalorian. Now, one show that has been put out that a lot of people seem to like quite a bit is Andor. However, I am not one of them. Yeah, I said it. Now, I will admit that the quality of that show is quite a bit higher than the other shows I've talked about on here. But I'm going to leave my thoughts on Andor at that for the moment. I will go into a deep dive about that show and Rogue One in the future here. So, with all that out there, I mean, I am going into Ahsoka with my bar set nice and low. But there is an opportunity here for the Mouse House to really win people back. Ahsoka is a very interesting character. She's the secret apprentice of Anakin Skywalker. She's an extremely powerful Force user. In the show Rebels, she did throw down with Darth Vader and survived. And those white lightsabers she's got are the hotness. Grand Admiral Thrawn, that could be very awesome. If they can get that character right, they're going to have something here. And it could be really special. So here's to, hopefully, a new hope for Disney. And let's just pray that they can get Star Wars going back in the right direction again. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.